Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
Hey, and I'm Sam.
And I'm Dad.
And this is a Hidden City Book Company production.
I was just too excited, Sam.
Well, yeah, it makes sense.
Welcome back to another Ask Dad episode. I kind of alluded to the last time we talked about it, how I was going to try to bring more, just general advice questions for Dad this time. Didn't really go as planned. I found a little bit, but I miss, what was the website? Was it just ask.com? Right?
Well, it used to be Ask Jeeves, but yeah.
Yeah, but the one that just closed down, shut down like a year or two ago, right?
That was Ask.
Ask, that was good, man.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, it's hard. And like, a lot of the questions I'm finding are like opinion questions, which are fine, but that's kind of not what I was aiming for. So disregard everything I said previously. This is going to be just another usual Ask Dad. I scattered a few in here. So
Wow. I'm glad I didn't study for this.
yeah. So everyone, what's new since we've last spoke? I feel like it's been a little while.
Let's see here. We had Halloween. Happy Halloween.
Yep.
Happy Halloween.
We're post Halloween now.
Happy Halloween.
This episode is going live Monday. Oh, okay, yeah. So we still don't have a new president yet. We'll find out.
That's right.
Tomorrow.
Oh, great.
Well, I'm glad I voted early, so I missed all the lines.
Me too.
Yeah. And then this is the first week where we're doing double episode weeks till the end of the year or until we finish Arcane. So, yes, I think we said Wednesday. So this Wednesday, keep a lookout for another Lost Legacies where we're talking about Lost Season 6.
The final season.
Uh-huh.
I was just going to ask, how many are there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's 6. So we're getting into it. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of going to be our schedule from going forward. Mondays, we're going to be talking about Season 2 of Arcane, the final season. And then Wednesdays, we'll be talking about Lost, the final season.
Mm-hmm.
So, also, got to apologize. Last week, we didn't have a video episode for YouTube. I had to make some space on my laptop. And I transferred a lot of stuff, and I deleted even more stuff, and I accidentally deleted the video.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we still had the podcast though, so y'all lost out on my Sam costume, but maybe next year, or maybe for Christmas.
Nope, never again.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna try and do the video again for like the Christmas or Christmas special, but yeah. Other than that, are y'all ready to roll?
Yes.
Let's do this.
All right.
Born ready.
So, y'all have 20-sided dice. Don't worry about re-rolling the same numbers because I have a lot more than 20 questions. So,
perfect.
Dad,
All right.
go ahead. You go first.
All right.
See what we got.
go. Number 16.
This is interesting. Also, I'm trying to keep up to date by deleting questions I've already asked. I might have forgotten a few, so you might get double. But did you collect things as a child? And if so, what?
Ooh. Oh man. Yes. Marbles, cool looking rocks, and comic books.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No, we had a decent sized backyard, and we had an alley between, the neighbors across. And you just go kicking around and, drag your dad's shovel out of the little storeroom that you're not supposed to, and you go poking around, you find all kinds of rocks and stuff out there. So I would collect it, put it in a little shoebox, get in trouble when it spilled.
What what age was that? Or up to what age, do you know?
Oh, I guess about 9.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. After we moved,
Hmm.
uh, yeah, I kind of quit doing stuff like that.
I think, Dad, you might be a better expert on this, but like, I don't know if I really collected anything. I know I had a rock collection, but it was very small, and it was just stuff we had in the backyard.
Yeah, I mean, I remember both y'all had a bunch of little toys, like Star Wars toys and Batman
Yeah,
toys and stuff.
That's true.
I don't know if you'd call that a collection, but
yeah.
you had a decent amount.
Interesting. Because I've heard this question a lot. A lot of people talk about, oh yeah, I collect this and this. I'm like, what do you do? I mean, I guess technically you could say like those Funko Pops, but that's like more recent within like the last couple of years. But even then, like
Hmm.
I've stopped, but like I still display them, you know?
Yeah.
I have too many to display. So like, and I'm not a collector. I take them out of the box because I believe in enjoying my life, not looking through it through a thin sheet of plastic.
Wow.
So if we
Hmm.
ever get like money, Sam, and we could do like a cool like background setup, I'll have like my pops and I'll like randomly, switch them out every
Oh, for
episode.
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean
Yeah.
that's the goal with, the bookcases behind me. Like this is gonna be, the office. So,
Hmm.
I can start displaying them and all that. But we haven't got there yet.
Yeah. Well,
Days
all we
away.
see are pumpkins right now. So
Oh, that's true. That's
yeah.
true.
But also like I feel like I I had stuff, but it wasn't collections, like DVDs. We were the DVD generation. I wasn't collecting them, but if it was a good movie, I'd
Hmm.
want to buy it.
Yeah.
So, Sam, do you remember any? Oh, actually, I do remember one collection Sam had.
What did I have?
Bottle caps.
Yep. Yep. I had a bottle cap collection for some reason. I really don't know why. Um, maybe it was because of grandpa.
I think yeah, he gave you a bunch
Yeah.
at one point and specifically it was like beer bottle caps, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
And like
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're not really dad didn't really drink,
Mm-mm.
so it was from grandpa, but also grandpa went to a lot of sales and stuff, so he probably picked it up over time or at a certain sale.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Man.
we still have that collection stored away. So if you ever,
No, no,
oh
you
yes, oh
don't.
yes, we do.
What?
We're
You
saving it for
do?
your
Yes,
kids, Sam. Saving it for
yes.
your kids.
You can come and pick it up anytime you want. Make space over
Wow.
here.
Here you go.
I didn't know that. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
it's even labeled.
Here you go, little baby Enoch Jacob Jimenez. Here's your dad's
What?
old bottle cap collection. I was trying to
Wow.
think of like a cool name. I don't know. I always thought
And
Enoch was cool.
well,
Well,
Kind of biblical, kind of sci-fi, and like,
if you
combine the
want your
two.
child to get beat up, yeah.
yeah.
Or to be the beater upper. Enoch.
Enoch. Oh man, I
It's
got that
true.
kid again. Yeah.
Enoch your teeth in.
Wow.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. I know I think Sam, I don't remember if you were in this, but I remember I went through like the Pogs phase. That was middle school or elementary.
Yeah,
Pogs. Do you
I
remember that,
remember
Dad?
that. Yeah, yeah.
And when you would buy new shoes, you would specifically buy the ones that came with like the metal slammer. Like Nikes would make slammers, Adidas. Do you remember that?
Kind of. I only knew of the Pogs as like the little disc thing. Like
Hmm.
I didn't know what you were supposed to do with them other than just have them.
Yeah, but that most of the time. But
Okay.
then like the slammer was metal, and you throw it down, and it's supposed to like flip them. Like
Oh,
it was a game. There were rules. I don't remember it,
like a
but
game of Jacks then.
kind of. But yeah, it was just like it's so smart that you can go to the store, buy a new pair of Nikes specifically because they came with a slammer. was like, oh yeah. So, they were priming us because, now that I think about it, maybe we were collectors in a way because we were also the Pokemon generation.
Yeah.
I never really played it, but a lot of kids my age loved it. They had the Game Boys, And then Sam, you were old enough for when Yu-Gi-Oh got popular here in America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ah, capitalism. Beautiful thing. Sucking us in at a young age.
Gosh. And I paid for all of that.
So, okay, Dad,
Thanks, Dad.
yeah, thanks, Pops. What else did you mention, Dad? You mentioned comic books and was it kind of just
Marbles.
Oh, marbles. Yeah, talk about marbles.
Oh,
Yeah, I have a
man.
question. What's the goal with the marbles? Like I know it's a game, but I never understood it.
Collect them all.
Yeah, but
you draw a circle on the ground, and you have what's called a jumbo marble. It's bigger than all the rest.
Okay.
That goes in the middle. Then you use the smaller marbles and you shoot at it. And the one that can knock the giant marble out of the circle wins. Okay. So you're competing with this other guy.
Okay.
Would y'all bet marbles?
Yeah.
Oh, so if you win, you get his marbles?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Thus the saying, all the marbles.
All the marbles.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I lost my marbles.
I lost my marbles.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Jeez.
But
I
the
got
idea
kicked in the marbles.
it's not really set up for just one-on-one. You got to have 5 or 6 guys all playing the game at the same time. The winner gets all the marbles.
Wow. Man, that's some shady back alley stuff right there. I love it.
Oh, man. The nuns hated it, man. And we'd get in so much trouble. We'd take our marbles to school and we'd play at lunch or recess. Oh, man.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. We were, to use your phrase, we were being primed for the gambling circuit. Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then what about comic books? Was it just kind of was it just to keep up with the stories?
Yeah, at first.
Mm-hmm.
At first, because it was like a little series, of stories, so you'd have maybe 5 or 6 issues, and then another new story would come up.
Wow.
But yeah, we'd save my allowance, run down to the convenience store, buy it, and come on back and just hide out and read all about my latest comic.
Sam, question for you. If Dad was a kid who grew up in the 90s, what would he have been into?
Like comics wise?
Well, anything. And Dad, from the little bit I don't know. Man.
Oh.
Is there anything about Pokemon you find interesting? Do you think as a kid you would have liked it? No?
No.
You don't want to collect them all?
No.
So, there's not enough stakes. You can't bet on Pokemon.
Yeah.
Now I feel like now we're getting into some other characters. Now are we talking about collecting? Like is that the thing?
I'm just talking about whatever. What do you think a 90s version of Little Dad would be?
Hear me out. Gargoyles.
Gargoyles?
Yeah, remember that show?
Remember
the cartoon?
Yeah, the cartoon.
That was the main guy was
Goliath.
Goliath?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Goliath the gargoyle?
Jonathan Frakes was the bad guy.
Yeah.
Really?
Marina Sirtis was his wife.
Mm-hmm.
I think
the
so,
bad
right?
guy's wife?
I think so.
Or Garth's wife or Goliath's wife?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I knew she was in there.
Mm-hmm. I vaguely remember it. And I only remember it because I thought it looked cool. Kind of gray, and he's supposed to be concrete like a gargoyle. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I did like that.
I think like, of course, obviously, Batman the Animated Series,
Oh, yeah.
but I think like
hands down, yeah.
a good tangent is Gargoyles, because it does kind of the same thing. Like it's taking in all of this like kind of world history, but also Shakespeare, but putting it into these stories, these like 20-30 minute episodes that are palatable for kids.
Mhm.
And you're getting all these actors who are absolutely not slumming it. They're not playing the material down. They're
Mhm.
playing it how it's written,
Yeah.
and they're giving it their all. And I'm like, that's what makes it so great. And I think that's why it has the fandom it does now. Yeah, I think any 90s kid worth their salt at least had some minor obsession with gargoyles.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that.
I know a lot who didn't, and you know what?
We don't associate with them.
Yeah, they're all troubled people. Okay, Sam, roll your die.
All right. 20.
Ooh, a natural 20. This means it's a bonus question, bonus points.
That's the bonus point sound.
Oh.
Keep in mind, I wrote these and I didn't like proofread them, so I'm just reading it off the top of my head here. The highest level of professionalism on this podcast, guys.
Oh,
Okay.
for sure.
If you were stranded on an island for several years, what would be the first food you ate when you return home?
This is for Sam?
This is for all of us. Do you already know, Dad?
Oh, I've said it several times. Bill Miller's, followed by
Fried chicken. Okay.
your mom's enchiladas and rice.
Oh, that's good.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay. Mine was also no, I think mine was Hong Fong's. Hong Fong's, listeners, is a Chinese restaurant in town. Bill Miller's fried chicken would be a close second. However, I gotta make the stipulation. I always say mom's crispy tacos.
Ooh, yeah.
She makes some good crispy
yeah.
tacos. But I know the day I make it back, she's gonna be so emotionally drained, she's not gonna want to cook. So day one, I'll go eat Chinese food, and probably fried chicken later in the evening. The next day, mom can make me crispy tacos. Her rice, no one makes the rice like
no one
mom.
makes mom's rice. Yeah,
That's true.
Mom has
That's
the best
true.
rice.
I don't know how she does it.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so following Matt's formula as well, I need a cheeseburger. I need the juiciest, burgeriest, cheesiest. Throw some bacon on there. Nice, crisp lettuce and a piece and some tomato on it. Just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say bacon? Throw more bacon on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Take a bite into and the nice toasted sesame or buns with the sesame seed on top. Yeah, I need it. I need that. I need that. I need to be able to just like hold it two hands and it's still not enough. That's the kind of burger that I'm looking for. If I'm stranded on a desert island, I'm like, this is it. This is the epitome.
Nice.
And then afterwards, I need mom's crispy tacos. But more than that, I need mom's pancakes.
Oh,
Because nobody makes pancakes like mom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't get that in a box.
No.
Because it's the thing that she does it like she makes them like thin. But they're still so good. Like
Still so fluffy. They fluff up.
Yeah. They're still so fluffy, but then the edges are also crispy, and you're like, ooh, it's so good.
It's because she makes them with love
Exactly.
and sweat. No, I don't know.
I mean, probably it gets hot in that kitchen.
Yeah.
All right, Dad. Your turn to roll.
Number 7.
Oh.
Okay. You crash land on an island. What's the first thing you do?
Oh gosh.
Lament that I don't have fried chicken. Wow, there's a lot of island questions here.
Oh gosh.
I mean, it's pretty
Okay.
apt, for the
Well,
podcast.
Lost Legacies, they're on an
Mhm.
island. Sheesh.
Mhm.
Okay, I crash land on an island. First thing I do. Shelter.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Followed by water,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
followed by food.
I guess, we're speaking in generalizing here because it depends what kind of island it is, what's available. But yeah, so what would you do? Just try and find tree branches, leaves,
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, is it a tropical island? Then yeah, you're gonna have, of course, different plants as opposed to an island, let's say, you know, off of Alaska.
Yeah.
You're gonna have different trees, you're gonna have different materials, but it's still the same thing. You're gonna look for shelter first because you will freeze to death or cook to death before you die of dehydration.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
shelter first, water second, and you can go weeks without food. Okay. But you can only go days without water.
Yeah. What is
Okay.
what does he do for water in Castaway? Is there is there fresh water?
He's collecting it when it rains.
Wow. Jeez, for
Mhm.
4 years?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, but in the cave, there's like a pool, I believe.
Oh, that's right. There is a cave.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
That's right.
okay.
That's right.
Man, crazy movie.
Okay. First of all, because it's me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna panic. I'm gonna panic. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna full on sit on that beach from anywhere between 20 minutes to an hour. Just why? What did I do in my life that I deserve this? Oh my god. Yeah. Then once I get that out of my system, I'll be like, okay, I guess I gotta get up and do things now and just go try and find whatever. I'm assuming the wreckage is just off to the side, just
Possibly. If there's
whatever.
wreckage, that would help a lot for shelter.
Potentially,
Potentially.
depends on what's going on, but
Mhm.
but yeah, then I'd be like, okay, I think figuring out shelter is good, but also want to take stock of what do I have?
Mhm.
And if it is just me, it's like, all right, well, what do I have on me? What's around me right now that I can use so that I can figure out some shelter? Then once we get that taken care of, well, I say once we get that taken care of, but that's also going to be a trial and tribulation because I'm going to be trying to figure out how to cut something or how to get tree branches down or something, and then I got to tie them together, and then I'm gonna be like, dang it, I I should have been keeping up on my Boy Scout knots and God, yeah, freaking
Mhm.
Eagle Scout, yeah, it's something
Everything's
that's
gonna
doing it
have
right now,
the
yeah,
shoelace knot.
yeah, everything is the shoelace knot, um, yeah,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
then yeah,
See, I'm almost the opposite of you. I wouldn't sit and start crying because my way of panicking would be like, oh man, if I'm not doing something right now, I'm going to die later. It's like planning ahead. So I'm going to be pissed off. Like, damn it, tearing branches and all this stuff. Not knowing what I'm doing, not really remembering how to build shelter, but damn it, I'm going to build it and I ain't going to be happy about it at all. That's how I freak out.
Well,
If I'm scared, I get angry. I was like,
There you
"Ugh."
go. If we're going to be honest here, okay, if I'm crash landing anywhere,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to be so freaked out because I'm afraid to fly.
oh,
So how
that's
did I get
true.
in the plane in the first place?
Oh, that's right.
That's true.
And the fear is falling. I'm afraid of falling. Okay. So if the plane
so
is
the hard part's
falling out of
done.
the sky, I'm living my fear then and there.
No, here's what happened. Here's what happened. All the flights or all the seats in the other flight were booked. But we're on a time crunch, so we got to get dad there. So we booked dad first class into the old rickety plane, the old rickety plane that makes the cargo run. But we doped dad up with so much sleep medication he's just conked out.
He wakes
So
up
Dad,
on the island.
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know that you crashed. You just wake up on the island. You're like, oh crap.
So the pilot's there, dead in the seat. Like,
Oh my
what the heck
gosh.
happened?
Gosh.
Oh man.
Well, you could get me drunk because drunks never get killed in crashes, right?
Yeah.
Does that work for plane crashes though?
Well,
and does
I
that
don't
work
know.
for passengers?
I mean,
I don't know.
they do have things to help, sleep aids to make you pass out,
It's true.
or you just take Benadryl.
Oh gosh.
Oh, but then you'll see the Hat Man.
The what?
The Hat Man. I just found this out.
What's the
So-
Hat Man?
If you Google it, all these people have talked about, seeing the shadowy figure, which just looks like a man with a wide brim hat. Most of the times they see him is like when they're like super like exhausted, like not just sleepy, they're like
Groggy.
ready to pass out.
Yeah.
A lot of people have talked about seeing him when on Benadryl, like they see a person corner of their eye. Some people have said that's their sleep paralysis demon, just this guy in a hat. I was like, dang. So I just think it's funny because I text Sam the other day. I was like, dude, why the hell have I not heard of the Hat Man yet? I was like, I never knew this was a thing.
It
Wow.
started off. I want to say that it started out as a meme. Something it was like, oh, like what happens if I take like too much Benadryl or something like that. And it's like oh, I can't take too much Benadryl because I'll sleep too fast or sleep too hard or something like that. It's like, well, I can't take it because if I take too much of it, I see the Hat Man. And everyone's like, the what? Like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was a safe space where we could all share what happens to us, okay? Sorry.
Wow.
Well, that's it. I'm never taking Benadryl again.
Man. I
Hat
don't know.
Man.
Like I know people talk about like the sleep paralysis demon. I'm like, I've never experienced it. Like,
well, because sleep paralysis is like a specific thing.
I've never experienced that either. So that explains it.
Be grateful.
Yeah.
Because it's not great.
Did you when it's happened, Sam, did you see someone? Like,
No, I don't have that.
oh, okay.
I don't have that, but like just hearing like from the because what it is that you just
It's like you're awake,
well,
but you
on.
can't move, right? Like,
hang on a second, maybe I have experienced that. But it's weird because it's like I experienced that, but I'm dreaming, where I'm like I'm frozen and I can only move my eyes and I can't move anything else.
oh yeah.
But yeah, like it's something similar to that effect. It's like you wake up or you're in like some sort of awake, not awake sleep state. So your brain is like trying to catch up with you with where you're at, and then it just makes you see things, but you also can't move your body. So you're just literally frozen in place, maybe watching this other thing look at you.
Oh gosh.
Okay, I think maybe I know what mine is because several times, like a lot. I don't know. I guess I have a fear, but not really. I hate roaches, right? And like it's to the point, like I say, like when I'm scared, I get angry. So if I see one, like I will stay up all night until I kill it and find it. But like I've had moments or whatever where like I kind of wake up and I see like the outlines from in the window or whatever, and I'm kind of registering that there's nothing there, but then I'll see something move, not a person, something small. I'm like, And then eventually I get up like, oh, I get up and I start looking and I'm like, wait, was there even a bug or did I just dream that? And most of the case, yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So I guess my sleep paralysis demon is a tiny roach.
Is a roach?
Yeah. I was like, well, I guess that's better than most.
Gosh. I don't know, but I'm going to have trouble sleeping tonight. That's all I got to say. Sheesh.
Between the roach and anything else, I'll take the hat man.
The Hat Man?
Yeah,
Really?
I'll take the hat
God.
man. He's
Oh,
just
God.
there and he's got a hat. What's the big deal?
Oh, you prefer the hat. Oh, still, that's just creepy. But also, Sam's the guy who would rather fight 13 mini versions of himself than the big one.
Yeah, it's true. It's too scary. He's too big.
Yeah, but you can... Oh, okay. All right.
That's another show.
Yeah, listen, guys, listen to our last episode. We talk about that a lot. Sam, roll your dice.
All right. 14.
Ooh, okay. What piece of fiction has influenced you the most?
Oh,
Interesting.
a
Interesting
lot,
question.
lot of dead air going on right now.
I know. Riveting podcasting.
Advertisers love us.
Hmm.
I don't...
Fiction. I
I'm kinda-
guess. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of... Because, like, the two that, like, my two heroes that I always think of is Captain Picard and Indiana Jones. So I think the way it's influenced me is, especially now, the older I get, I find myself kind of going back to those stories more than everything else in the decades since, you know? Star Trek is like a morality play every week. And I don't know. I just always thought that was really cool because I loved Riker. You know, he was good looking, he got the ladies, and he would throw the punches, you know? Cool. But like Picard was in charge and he was always diplomatic. And even though I didn't really understand it and I was kind of bored, like as a kid I knew him like, oh, he's like a really good guy, you know? And there's something about that kind of latched on to me, you know? And then with Indiana Jones, it's the same thing. He's good looking, he gets the girls, he throws the punches, but he's also super smart and he's a nerd, you know? So something about that kind of like stuck with me as well. Like, oh, nerds can be cool, you know? He was a Boy Scout. I was a Boy Scout, you know? Just like those little things. I'm like, oh, cool. Like I felt like I could relate to Indy, you know? Um, yeah. But I mean, that's very character specific influences. I'm not too sure about the actual like works of fiction itself. You know, I would have to think more about that.
I've always been intrigued with stories like about the underdog
Mm-hmm.
or the people they're put in positions or situations that they really have to work hard to get out of it. Case in point, Hemingway's The Old Man in the Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the old man, he's been a fisherman all his life, but he's in this one little boat all by himself, and he's an old man. Catches this huge, humongous fish that there's no way that he is capable of truly bringing this thing in. And it's just taking him further and further out into the sea, right? Well, he does wind up catching it and killing it, but it's too big to get into the boat. So now he's got to row the boat with this thing lugged on there, and the sharks are eating it little by little. So the longer he takes to get back, the less and less of this thing he has.
Mm.
And if he's out there too long, he's going to die.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this whole situational type thing.
Mm.
So I love stories like that. where the character has to uh I don't know, find it in himself to be more than what he is on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Something like that.
Okay. Okay. Sam, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Ray Bradbury's The Illustrated Man.
Oh,
Yeah.
fascinating.
Uh, you know, Dad, you and Mom were never you were neither strict nor specific about what I could and couldn't read.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, a little bit stricter with what Matt and I could watch. But when it came to reading, I think the idea was that, well, at least he's reading. Uh, and not to say that that was that book specifically was like, oh, I shouldn't have been reading that, but it was something that just fully I latched onto, and I like opened my brain up to, just all these other possibilities. It's like, one, uh, you know, not, I guess, in like not like in the like, oh, this was the first time I realized you could have a career making stories like these, writing stories like these. But I think when I was a little bit older, when I read it, it was like, oh, wait a second. You can do this? Like, you're allowed to do this? Like like you're allowed to be creative and put it in a book for other people to read, and they'll pay you for it.
Mhm.
Uh and that was mind blowing to me. I was like, I think this is it. This is what I want to do with my life. But it helped that, he was such a prolific writer, and um he was able to like set his stories anywhere and have anyone be, the protagonist or the POV. And reading that book, it was just, it was kind of mind-blowing that he's able to like kind of a thing that we're seeing, I think, a lot more in movies and TV shows, where it's like blending and mixing of genres. He was doing that on the page, and he's, giving you this big heady sci-fi concept, but making it uh like a family drama, or
Hmm.
or the inverse, like putting this family drama in like the big soap opera, like thing, all these things. And yeah, I think that was just the and that's one of the works that I constantly think back on, of most influential thing, or the thing that inspired me the most, or something that I'm constantly like going back to for inspiration. Um, it's that one. And I know he has, probably better short story collections and better books, but I just really fell in love with The Illustrated Man, so that one's my favorite.
Mm. I I thought I had given you my answer, but now I'm like, oh my God, now I'm thinking about it. What a good question. Uh,
It's Critical Role.
well, first off, Toy Story, the first one,
Oh.
because I didn't really realize it, but now I'm very much like, ooh, the whole enemies to friends thing. I love that.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
I really love enemies to lovers more, but as a kid, I'm like, wait a minute, Buzz and Woody, like they were enemies and they became friends.
mm-hmm,
But the scene where the dog, they're chasing the truck and the dog bites like Woody and his arm's tearing and he's gonna fall, and he looks at Buzz and he's like, take care of Andy for me. And I'm like, and then instantly like Buzz jumps in and saves the day. He sacrifices himself. But as
mm-hmm.
a kid, like it just hit me so hard. I'm like, Woody was ready to die. he was ready to die to save Buzz, and like I was young, I was playing my toys, and I kept like replaying the scene in my head over and over and over. Take care of Andy for me, and just over and over. So much so that mom, she didn't yell at me, but she just said, she's like, Matthew, play something else. It was so constant because I'm like, I think even as a kid, I knew like, oh, this is like kid content. This is a kid's story. But that scene, I was like, oh, wow. Oh, it was like that. And like kind of like Mufasa dying, that's kind of like one of those moments where you like forced to grow up. You're like, Woody he knew he was going to die, and he accepts it. He tells Buzz, I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah.
So, boom, grew up. The other one, once I was a little older, high school, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Oh, yeah.
That's more...
Yeah.
How it influenced me like more as an individual, as a person, because it's all about everything is written, and it's about still, like truly believing, that your wildest, craziest things are wildest and craziest dreams are possible, and it's not just. There's Paulo Coelho he's a very spiritual dude, and he always walks that line between different religions and spirituality. And it's very much this kind of concept of like, it's almost like your moral / spiritual duty to pursue those dreams because this is your calling, and that like at that, especially at that age, I was like, wow. And that's a book I read at least once every 2 to 3 years. Because it's such a short read. I think I came to the question like, oh, what's influenced me as a storyteller? I'm like, no, The Alchemist really influenced me like in life. And I think that might also be where I get a lot of my cheery disposition from, as jaded as I have become, there's still an optimist in there somewhere. But then like very recently, kind of like what you said, Sam, Critical Role, I think just Dungeons and Dragons in general, it's not anything in particular, because just the concept of collaborative storytelling mixed with the chaos of rolling dice, where no one really knows what's going to happen because you have to roll dice, that has completely changed the way I approach storytelling. Even though I'm just one guy writing one story, that's how I approach it now. Like, I have an idea what's going to happen, but I don't really know. So let's see where it goes. You know what I mean? So yeah, those were my answers. All right, Pops, roll your dice.
Number 9.
Ooh, what is your favorite stunt in a movie?
Oh, a favorite stunt.
I think I know mine. Just right off the top of my head.
You go first.
I think all the skydiving in Point Break. Because to know that, one, it's actually Patrick Swayze doing it, and two, he wasn't supposed to because the studios couldn't insure it. So especially the big climactic skydive scene, they did that technically after they had wrapped. It was him, the cameraman. I don't remember if the director was with them or what, but like she went up in the plane and they're like, let's just do this. We get one shot. I'm like, oh man. Patrick Swayze, what a beast.
Wow. Stunt. This is hard.
Man.
Yeah. And then, I mean, of course, if you think of any of the classic, the Buster Keatons and Harry Lloyd, oh my God.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Those were just on another level. But one, the stunts, but also the way they filmed them, like it was just, to me, that was real movie magic. It's like, even knowing how they did it, it's like, I still don't get it. It's like, I still can't believe that worked.
Well, it's great too, because, it's like they were the ones to pioneer that. So they're,
Yeah,
they're the
yeah,
first ones to do that.
yeah,
And so, yeah, it in a way, it is sort of like creating magic.
yeah.
Um, and just the repercussions, everybody, I mean, even now, like Tom Cruise is, just doing, what is Tom Cruise doing if not doing just bigger versions of those stunts,
Right. Yeah.
you know? Man, favorite stunt. That's a hard one.
That is a hard one because there have been some pretty awesome.
Because now I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen a movie. I don't
I've
know. I
never
don't
seen an
know.
action movie in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Man.
man.
Oh man.
Anything with
Okay.
Jackie Chan, like,
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
he's more on like the Harold Lloyd side of stunts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very, very physical, but it's very person uh personal because it's just him and an object or
Mm.
him and a situation, whether that's a moving car or falling out,
Hmm.
you
Mhm.
know, trying to hit the balcony so he can bounce right. I
Hmm.
would put those two guys together very easily.
Hmm.
But there's, you know, motorcycle stunts. I don't I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. But as far as from like a movie, uh, so Burt Reynolds made this movie once about an aging stuntman.
Oh yeah.
And so it's him, and I believe Jan Michael Vincent is like the young stunt guy
Hmm.
doing all this kind
Oh
of
yeah.
stuff and everything. And they had some pretty good stunts because that was the whole premise of the film, right? So they brought out all the top guys of the time to come out and do all this stuff where they're jumping cars and flipping cars and being thrown from horses and just
Mhm.
all this stuff. And so as a movie, it's not great, but it had awesome stunts, you know.
I believe you're talking about the film Hooper.
That's the one.
Oh.
That's the one. Now, I will say this. I saw a documentary about this old-time stunt guy, Yakima something or another. I can't remember his last name, but he's the guy. He was dressed as an Indian. He rides up to the front of the stagecoach, gets on the horses that are pulling the stagecoach.
Mm.
There's a
Hmm.
fight. He gets shot. He drops. The stagecoach is still running.
Mhm.
He winds up crawling like hand over hand between the horses and then
Oof.
gets under the stagecoach. Okay,
Mhm.
while it's all moving and galloping and all this kind of stuff. This was done back in the 30s.
Hmm.
And he's the guy that invented this thing, the way to do this stunt. After that, it was copied a million times,
Hmm.
Mhm.
you know. And it's kind of like, hey, this is what I imagine. This is how we wrote this. You think you can do it? And then someone goes
Hmm.
out and figures out how to do it.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That's a heck of a stunt, man.
That's one of the things I really love about like the really really good stunt teams, for stunt teams and like martial arts films, because a lot of times they might have a vague idea of what the fight sequence is, but they don't really know until they're on set and they're
Yeah.
like, all right, let's figure it out, and that's what a lot of Jackie Chan stuff was. It's like, let's
Mhm.
figure it out. I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
god, you mean so they don't prep and rehearse for weeks and weeks? It's like, all right, what can we do here in the moment? But they also know what they're capable of. Jackie knows what he can do. He knows what his
Yeah.
team can do. So like, what can we do with this? And like, it's just like the most crazy type of improving, you know? And when stunts are typically seen as like the big stuff, but like I love fighting in films. So when I think of stunts, I'm just like anything like that where they're fighting and then they do something cool that catches you. Like, okay, I'm watching this 2-minute fight scene. Like, oh, but that caught me off guard. Oh, that's different. Something like that.
Yeah. I'll say this. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I'm looking at what it's called because I know that this was the American name for it. So there's a movie called for America, Jackie Chan's First Strike. But for China, it is the fourth installment of the Police Story franchise. But there's a moment in the movie where I don't really remember what's happening, but there's a fight in like this big kind of like venue and it's 2 stories. So, like the fighting's going on and it moves to the upper level. On the upper level, there's more like of the construction stuff going on. And Jackie Chan, the great thing about Jackie Chan is that he's also a filmmaker. And he can see like where everything is and will usually show you, hey, we're moving the camera here because if this thing is in the foreground, it's going to come into play at some point. You don't know how yet, but it's going to come into play. And then he moves, and then that's how that's how that works. They show a shot of a giant ladder, and sure enough, Jackie's trying to like fight these guys, and then to evade them, leaps through the ladder and then uses the ladder as a way to like dodge their hits. They have like some like poles or something that they're trying to hit him with, so he's ducking and dodging, as they're trying to like poke him and stuff. And then he picks up the ladder and flips it and is able to catch it and is doing all this crazy stuff and then uses the ladder to fight.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I just think that's such a he is a master of using the environment, as his defense or offense, and that I think that is my favorite stunt.
Nice. That's good. I think I don't know about my favorites, but I remember as a kid just the truck scene, the truck chase in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I was going to say that.
Where he's stuck on the hood and like the little hood ornament starts breaking. And he's like, oh, and then he has to crawl under. And I'm like, even today, I'm like, man, this is so cool, but I remember like just as a young kid, I'm like, wow, this is again, movie magic.
I wanted to try that so bad. I wanted to try it so bad.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
It's like Indy can do it. I can do
it. Yeah. Oh man. But also like kind of the same thing with like the fight sequences. They're different types of stunts, But same thing with like anything that's a one shot. But then also like let's talk about Tom Cruise. I like what he does with his stunts. They're epic. They seem to be getting bigger and bigger. My issue though is it's like, okay, what are you doing? So in this the last Mission Impossible where he jumps off a cliff, cool, spectacular, epic. I still think the tower swinging in Dubai was just cinematically so much cooler.
Oh yeah.
But then there's also the one where he latches onto the plane and it just takes off and it's that one shot. That's cool, but what's Tom Cruise doing? He's literally just chained to a plane. I always remember, I think it's Mission Impossible 3. The scene where the drone is blowing up everyone on the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
And like Tom Cruise is getting blown around. Like, still, I'm like, that is so much cooler than that strapping him to that plane. And then, I think it's also part 3. Where it's kind of like on those little docks or the pier, and he just starts running and running and running through like the market, and it keeps going. And I'm like, oh, yes, that is cool, I don't know if you would call it a stunt. I would need a stuntman to do that for me. but you
True,
know, to
true.
actually see that, I'm like, man, that's impressive. That's, you know, same thing with Rocky when he's the montage where he's training, and then at the last montage where he was running past the boat. And I was like, oh yes, you know, just simple, just physical athleticism and one shot. I'm like, yes, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. You could strap anyone to a plane. You could do it to me. I might pee myself and I might scream and might even black out.
I will.
But I'll
I'll
still
do
be
all those
there.
things.
I'll be there next to Tom Cruise the whole time. You know? So, yeah. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I think we have time for one more.
You want me to roll it? Do you want Dad to roll it?
Who's next? I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I think it's Sam.
Okay. Sam.
A natural 20.
Oh, two.
Two.
That's double bonus points.
Boing, boing, boing.
That's the sound of double bonus points.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
All right, this isn't really a good exciting one.
That's not a very exciting sound for a natural 20.
Yeah.
Make it 22.
This was my problem with putting like finding advice questions. Some of them just seemed kind of boring. I was like, okay, all right.
Oh. Well, then don't ask that one. Ask another one.
All right, I think I don't want to just start going through the list. So this one seems like a good one since we're talking about movies so much. What film scene will always make you choke up?
Oh.
I didn't realize this mostly because this is new. This is newer to me. But every Christmas I have made it a tradition to watch White Christmas.
Oh.
There's just something about it. I love it. I love it. We don't make musicals like this anymore. We can't. Yeah. I don't know that we can make musicals like this anymore.
Agreed.
And that bums me out. But it's the scene at the spoilers for White Christmas if you haven't seen it. But it's the scene at the end where the general comes in and I'm forgetting how it was. He comes in and all of the army guys, all of the platoon, the whole platoon is there to greet him as he's coming in, and they're singing the song that they sing to him, and he starts giving his orders, you know, just as if it was just another day in the army, and then they play him off the stage, and then I cry, and then I'm like, why am I crying? I've never been in the army, but it just gets me. I'm like, oh no, it's so good. So yeah, that scene always gets me.
Yeah.
I have two.
Okay.
All right. The first one, now hear me out. It's a chick flick, but it gets to me.
We love chick flicks around here.
Okay. The movie's called Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Spoiler alert. Okay, here it comes. When Christopher Reeves is back in time and he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a penny with a modern date on it. And he sees it. He sees it in his hand and he can no longer stay back in time. So he comes forward. He comes back to the present. And he's desperately trying to go back and he can't. And they keep playing the love theme through this whole torturous time where he's not eating and sleeping and everything because he wants to go back to the one he loves and he can't. And he winds up dying. I lose it every time. It's that music. It's that music that does it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can remember the very first time I cried at a movie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I was like 4 years old. I couldn't sleep. My mom and dad were watching an old Humphrey Bogart movie. And I believe it was called something like Angels with Dirty Wings or Filthy Wings or something like that. All right. So it's
Uh-huh.
these three convicts. They're basically contracted out to uh go help the this priest on an island out in the Pacific, right? Somewhere. Okay. Uh the priest and the nuns are running an orphanage. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now the volcano comes alive. And now the priest and the nuns have to get all the kids off of the mountain and down to the boat and ship them out, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
the only people that can help them are the three convicts. Okay, Bogart is one of them, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
he's the leader of the three, right? Okay, so there's this scene where they're running across this wooden bridge, and because of the earthquakes from the volcano, one of the supports comes loose, and this big giant hulk of a convict slides down the embankment and puts the the bottom of the beam, this giant wooden beam, he just places it on his chest, and it smashes him into the side of the mountain, but it's enough to hold the bridge. So the priests and the nuns and all the kids and Bogart and the other guy, they go across the bridge and he tells them, go, go. We can't leave you. No, no, go, go, go. So they go down to the docks and they get the kids and the priests and the nuns on the thing and everything. And then Bogart and the other guy, they look at each other and they just kind of like nod their head. They don't say anything and they run back. Okay, because they're gonna go and try and save their friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you see them running back. Scene changes to the boat. The boat has left the island. Now the little island is way in the back. Okay, in the, and you see all the smoke coming out from the volcano and everything. And you see the little kids, the back of their heads, they're all facing that island because they know that their three friends, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that these convicts, they're still there. Then out of the blue, the island explodes. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And that's how the movie ends. I was like
Man.
4 years old, sitting on my dad's lap. I started crying like a baby. I'm only 4 years old, but
Yeah.
I followed the story. I was
Mm-hmm.
old enough to understand what's happening and that these guys died, right? Oh, and my dad just hugged me and he kind of laughed. He goes, "It's only a story, Leroy.
Yeah.
It's only a story. It's not
Oh
real."
man.
But I understood it.
Yeah.
I have never, ever, and I'm 65 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Here we're
Mm-hmm.
recording this thing, and I'd safely say I was 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw this thing. Oh, it's like yesterday. It's like yesterday. That's my crying movie right there.
That's a good one.
That's
Wow.
really good.
I there's a lot where like a lot of times like they'll get me emotional, but like the one that will always get me there is Beasts of the Southern Wild. When you
Mm.
have your lead actor as a little tiny girl, like I'm just gonna start crying. I'm like, no. And I don't want to talk about too much about it, but like um it's basically just how bad a lot of the poor bayou folk have it, like in the Louisiana area, and it's basically just looking at just how harsh and tough life is, but through the eyes of a child who still sees the magic in everything. And it just sets you up for heartbreak, you know. And then of course when she loses her, like, one of her only remaining family member, um, and oh wow, now I'm thinking about it. Talk about staying on theme, Matt. Uh, she gets angry, you know. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
there's sadness in there too, but like she's angry, and that's her reaction to this death. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Why won't you wake up?" And I'm like, "Oh God." Just getting goosebumps right now talking about it. Uh, yeah, man, easily one of my favorite movies. But then, you know, there's always the other ones, you know, like Boromir, you know, Boromir's death scene, you know,
Oh
and
yeah.
then when
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
when Aragorn calls him brother, you know, um, oh God, jeez, yeah, I don't know. That's also why I really like just TV as well, because you can watch like 60 hours of a show, and you can get something that's a decent show, but because you've spent so long with these characters, when something like heartbreaking happens, it hits you almost harder than like a movie will, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, geez, you can't do that, Star Wars. I'm sorry, you know? But I can do that with The Magicians, a show that was on sci-fi for 5 years, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I got through like 70 hours with these characters. So yeah, I don't know. It's just really and I'm not a big crier either, so when something could like evoke that out of me, I was like, oh man. And then back to like Lord of the Rings, there's the Boromir scene, and then right after when Sam's gonna drown, you know, so because he's gonna help Frodo even if it kills him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, all right, that's good moment too. And then the freaking end credits with Enya. I'm like, oh, just like the whole last 15, 20 minutes of that movie, I'm just sobbing, you know, even
Mm-hmm.
more so than like the Return of the King. You know, it's
Yeah.
the ending
Yeah.
of the Fellowship where I'm just like, oh no. I didn't even cry when Gandalf died, you know? But
Yeah.
like just that whole finale, I'm like, I'm a mess. It's like, oh, jeez. Yeah. Oh, and Iron Giant. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good one.
Mm-hmm.
Good
He's
one.
I'm just trying to just go through it. Mufasa dying like messed me up. Like as a kid,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it all night. But then I remember literally the next day, because I don't know if like we saw it with dad and mom, but like I remember the next day we saw it with the cousins and our aunts.
Mm-hmm.
So like seeing it the second time helped me kind of like come out of like the stupor. I was like, oh, okay, because I got, you know, it's like it is okay. I was able to enjoy it more. Like, oh, okay, it's just a story. All
Mm-hmm.
right, you know, it. I was able to move on after that second time. So like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, man. Just a big old teddy bear. And on that
Dang
note,
those movies.
listeners. Yeah, I know. And on that note, listeners, let us know what movies made you cry, because I'm really
Oh
curious now, and I know I'm
gosh.
missing some good ones. You know, I'm
Oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm gonna go through like my favorite list, and I'm gonna remember like, oh
Mm-hmm.
crap, how did I not? You know, oh
I'll just briefly say here, it's a wonderful life.
Oh, there
Like
you
at
go.
the very end, you
At
know,
the
I'm just
okay,
end.
like,
At
oh,
the
and
end.
yeah,
and I can tell you it says everybody's toasting.
yeah,
Everybody's toasting to George Bailey and they start singing. Like that's when I
yeah,
cry. That like every other point in the movie, I'm like, this is a really good movie. This is a damn good movie. And then that moment, I'm like, that's it. I'm done.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say when Frank Grillo dies in The Gray, because you have
Mm.
like this very um in a big way, he's kind of the antagonist because he's like the one guy who's not going to get in line. He's always fighting the others. He's not nice, you know. He's very shady. But then even like when it's his time, he knows, and he's like, I got nothing else to go back to. And then when he just sits down looking at Alaska, and he's like, basically saying, like, I have nothing, I've amounted to nothing, but right now, in this moment, like, this is mine. And I'm like, oh man. And it's the way it's shot is so beautiful because he's telling this to Liam Neeson, and he's just like, okay. So they leave him there. And then we see we see Frank Grillo from behind, and you actually see that his back is ripped open, and you're like, okay, now I get it. Like, we knew he was hurt, we knew that he's dying, but it's not until he's off on his own that the camera reveals to us like the severity, and you're like, oh geez. And then like it just slowly moves into him. You can hear the wolves slowly coming, and just for like an instant, you hear Frank Grillo like tremble, and it cuts. And he's the only one we don't see die in that movie. I was like, oh, damn it. Oh, Joe Carnahan, you rat bastard. Making me feel feelings with my heart. How dare you, sir? Cast me in your next one. Yeah, listeners, let us know, because now I'm really curious. Like, I feel like that's a good conversation starter. What movie absolutely ripped you apart? What gutted you to shreds?
Gosh.
Let us know. # Lost Legacies. I'm not really using Twitter so much anymore, but I'm on Threads now. And Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
I am also kind of not using Twitter as much anymore, but you can still find me there a little bit. You can also find me on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Real. That's REEL Texas Weirdo.
And if you want to find Dad, just get hold of Matt or Sam, and they'll get hold of me.
Well, gentlemen, friends, countrymen, it was fun. Until we do it again and try and bring more advice, and then just realize that that's boring. We'll do it again next time. Thank you, listeners. Join us Wednesday when we jump into last season of Lost, and next Monday when we jump into last season of Arcane. Until then, get lost.
Get lost.